Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Physician in the Kitchen. I'm your host, Dr. Monique, the plant-based board-certified physician you know as a physician in the kitchen. I help people discover, cook, and eat delicious plant-based foods because my mission is to fix America's health one plate at a time. So if you are watching this close to when it aired, we are currently in the month of May. And May, of course, is my favorite month. Not only is it my last name, it's also the month that I was born, go figure. And my son is actually graduating from college, and we have a wonderful trip coming up to celebrate his accomplishments. So May is all the things for me anyway, but it's also got special meaning for me this year. May is also National High Blood Pressure Education Month. So I think it is the perfect time to share a recipe that will help you address any blood pressure concerns you may have. I've been pretty open on here about how I was diagnosed with high blood pressure for many years, over 20 to be exact. Well, I actually have a series also on my YouTube channel that's going to peel back the layers and let you know what my diagnosis turned out to be and how we ended up treating it. But before we get into that and other things, be sure to do all the things. Click like, hit share, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our plant-powered content. Today, we are actually going to be making a bowl. So bowls are one of my favorite dishes. You can pack a lot of different ingredients into them. I've made them, we've made other ones before, but this time we are using some seasonal vegetables, which is always a great idea. I love a farmer's market, so this is a great time to go check out what's in bloom or in stock at your local farmer's markets. But we're going to choose ingredients that are going to help with things like potassium, metabolism, help with our magnesium. These are minerals that help with your blood pressure control, also increase your fiber, and other good benefits that help to regulate and lower your blood pressure. For example, I'm using kale and asparagus, two vegetables that are high in potassium. We're also using some mushrooms, which are high in magnesium. And we are going to be using as our base a little bit of quinoa as well as some tempeh, which is a soy product, which is packed with fiber. So we're going to put all that together, and then we're going to drizzle a little bit of our mint, cilantro, ginger tahini dressing to tie everything together. I don't know about you, but I'm already ready to eat. So enough of that talking. Let's get to cooking. All right, as I mentioned, key component of this bowl is the roasted vegetables. So this is my plug to hit up your local farmers market so you can get those springtime veggies, things that are in season in the spring, or if you're making this in summer or fall, same thing applies. So here I've got some carrots, some nice asparagus. You want to make sure the tips are nice and crisp. These have been in my fridge for a few days, but when I first got them, they were nice and crispy. You want them to be able to snap off very easily and have a little bit of purple to them. We've got some mushrooms, red onion, red bell pepper, and some kale. So what I'm going to do now is roast these, but let's prep them first by giving them a little bit of seasoning to bring out that flavor, because roasting brings out the natural sugars in the vegetables, the fruits and vegetables, and adds to the flavor. But we're going to top it with just a little bit more to make it even more flavorful. So if you're oil free, you can use a little bit of either lemon juice or vegetable broth, balsamic vinegar, so which is actually what I'm going to use now on my veggies. And so I'm just going to drizzle lightly with some balsamic. That's going to help, again, to add to some of the sweetness. And then for my kale, I'm going to use a little bit of oil. Now, if you wanted to do this raw, you could just massage your kale with oil, or again, if you're oil free, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of salt, and just have that as a raw component in your dish. So for my bowl, I'm going to be using some raw radishes to get that little bit of that crunch. So, but again, you make this your own. That's the beauty of this bowl. You really can do so much with it. All right, this is ready to go into my oven at 425 for about 20 minutes. And if you notice, my pieces are roughly about the same. That's super important because you want everything to cook evenly at the same time. Also, I forgot to add my seasoning, so I did just add a little bit of salt. Let's go ahead and add our black pepper. So some black pepper. And for these veggies, I think either some rosemary or oregano, thyme, any of those will go perfect. So that's what we're going to add. All right, so I've got some dried oregano. We're going to just season a little bit of that. I'm not going to put that on my kale. I'm going to do a little bit of thyme. Oh, it smells so good. The kale, I kind of want to leave as it is with just a little bit of salt and pepper. When it's done, I may squeeze a little bit of lemon juice, but I think for now, but you know what? I take that back. Let's add a little bit of garlic to our kale leaves. All right, so we're going to add some garlic, and I'm also going to add a little bit of ginger because that's going to play well with our cilantro, mint, ginger drizzle that we're going to add to our bowl. So why not carry some of those flavors through? Ginger is great for digestion, and I think it'll be a nice pairing. All right, now they're ready to go in the oven. Okay, guys, gather around because I'm about to tell you how to elevate your tempeh game. Some people say, they don't like tempeh, the texture, the taste, it can be a little bitter, but this step that I'm about to show you is also important. And if you take the few extra minutes to do it, you'll thank me later. So just a word, though, about the difference between tempeh and tofu. While they both start with the letter T and they both are soy products, they are really different. Tempeh is a really nice meat replacement. It has a firmer texture. It is the fermented and nutrient-dense soy version compared to tofu, which is more of an unfermented soy milk. And it's got a much softer version, it's got a much softer texture. Even the extra firm is still going to be smooth. But this being fermented means it has probiotics, which are good for your digestive health as well. And per serving, which is about 3 ounces, so just a little bit less than the size of a deck of cards or the palm of your hand, you're going to get 18 grams of protein. People are always concerned, how do vegans get enough protein? Well, this is one of the ways. But I will tell you, it can be a little bit bitter. So if you just take it, cube it like I've done it, and then go cook immediately with it, you may not enjoy the taste and texture as much as if you do this one step, which is steaming it. Easy peasy. We're just going to steam our tempeh for a few minutes first. So here I have got my pot with my steamer bowl in here. I love this thing. It collapses and then it can adjust to whatever size pot I'm using. And I've got a little bit of water in there. Again, you don't want to put too much because you don't want the basket to sit in the water because you want it to steam. So that's your guide, just to see how much water you can put in there before it touches the bottom. You can also use your pressure cooker for this as well, but this is easy on the stovetop. About 10 minutes, we're going to steam this, and then we'll be able to marinate it and go from there. Okay, so I'm ready to steam. So let's add this to our basket. And if you want to cut down on the number of pots you're using, you could do this in the same skillet that you're going to saute it in. So that is an option as well. But I do like to use a steam basket so that way steam comes up from the bottom and I really get all of it in contact with my steam. So let's go ahead and pop a top on there and let this do its thing for about 10 minutes. Okay, so while that's steaming, we can go ahead and be making our quinoa and also just constantly prepping. So while this is cooking, we can also go ahead and put together our cilantro mint glaze that we're going to make, or drizzle that we're going to make for this. So always be using your time efficiently. While one thing is working, be doing something else. Okay, so next I'm going to make the cilantro mint dressing to go with this bowl. So I've got some beautiful fresh mint, equally beautiful cilantro. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells absolutely amazing. But I wash everything I use, even my herbs. And I'm going to show you how I do it. I basically just use my salad spinner. And we're going to put them in here loosely and go ahead and run these under some water. Because I do feel a little bit of grit. I mean, these come from the ground. I do want to make sure they're clean. I don't want grit in my food. So we're going to do this and then put them along with some spinach in my food processor. Now you may be asking, why am I using spinach? Spinach is a great filler. Prices of things have gotten really out of control. If you're making a pesto, which calls for basil can be pretty expensive. So I like to use spinach as a filler. It adds fiber, it adds nutrients, vitamins, minerals. It has a pretty mild taste, so it goes with it, pretty much anything, but it gives it more body, and I can get more out of my more expensive herbs by using this spinach as a filler. Also, if you have an avocado that's just a little bit past its prime, throw that in while you're making a dressing. It's a great emulsifier, source of healthy fats that you can use. So all about repurposing, using things that are more economical to get huge returns as far as flavor and nutrition. Okay, now we're gonna just go ahead and put everything together. One word about getting the fresh herbs, be sure to check out your international markets. I actually got these at a local Indian store. You have to often get bigger or larger amounts, and the prices are much better than what you get in the grocery store. And if you've got any extra left over, just go ahead and stick them in a glass of water. Let those roots, the stems, stay in a glass of water. You'll get an extra few days out of them as far as freshness. All right, so now we're going to just add our herbs to the bowl along with a handful of spinach. And let's go ahead and pop this on our base. All right, let's pour in a little bit of lemon juice and start to break these leaves down, and we'll add up the rest of our ingredients. Okay, next we're going to add in our grated ginger and garlic. So remember, we added garlic to our veggies, so this is just carrying some of those same flavors through. And I'm going to use the oil from some of my tahini paste. I love tahini paste. I use it, of course, as you know, as the base of hummus, but I keep some on hand. So you can see there, of course, it is oily and does tend to separate sometimes. So we're going to use that oil again. We're repurposing here, not letting stuff go to waste. I'm also going to put a splash of maple syrup, just a skosh in there, and some salt and pepper, a little bit of kosher salt, and a few twists of some black pepper. If I were using arugula in here, arugula is another great substitute. I would not use as much black pepper because arugula is already peppery. Okay, we're going to drizzle in some avocado oil here so that we can thin this out just a little bit and get it the consistency of a dressing. All right, we're going to go ahead and give this a quick taste. Now, you see it's very loose, and if you like it that way, that's fine. If you want to make it more creamy, again, an avocado half would be good in here. I may even put a little bit of mustard in here to give it a little more body, or that tahini. In fact, why don't we do that? Why don't we add a little bit of that tahini since we've already got the oil in here? But let's check the taste. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. All right, so we're going to put in about a teaspoon of tahini. Tahini is made from sesame seeds, so it's got a little nutty taste to it. That's going to play along with some of the nuttiness from our quinoa, the nuttiness from our tempeh. So you see how we're building and complementing flavors on top of each other. All right, so now that we added in that tahini, that again is just going to give it a little more body, but it's still nice and loose like you want this to be, because again, this is our drizzle that's going to tie everything together in that bowl. So let's get the taste. Oh yeah, that is it. All right, so here we've got our roasted veggies, our kale. Some of it is crisp, some of it is still a little soft. So I love that. That's going to give us a little bit of crunch element in our bowl. And then you can see our carrots, asparagus, mushrooms, onions, and peppers. And I went with a multicolored quinoa here. So we've got some red in there. Remember, colors are great because those are phytochemicals, healthy plant chemicals that give you anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and blood pressure lowering benefits. So regular kale is great, but red kale is even better. And it's just going to look really pretty in this bowl. So there, our tempeh is steaming away. So we'll check back in a few minutes. Okay, so the tempeh has steamed and I'm getting a facial in the process here, which is great. But you see, it looks the same. We just, of course, this step is important, as I said, to get that bitterness off. So now it's ready to marinate, saute, whatever we're going to do. I am, however, going to go ahead and pop this into a quick ice bath to stop the cooking and then get it ready for the next step. All right, so now that my tempeh is nice and steamed, we're going to go ahead and give it some flavor. So we're going to saute it. And I am using my larger cast iron skillet here. To me, these are the best nonstick skillets. And depending on which ones you have, they actually give you a little bit of iron. There's been some studies that show small amounts of iron can be obtained from a cast iron skillet. So you don't have to worry about the nonstick coating and all that. I'm really trying to become much more aware and mindful of what I'm using to cook my food, prepare my food, store my food, you name it. So we got rid of plastics a little while ago. And now I'm really relying more on my cast iron skillets for my nonstick. And I'm using the larger one because I want them to have room, because now I've already steamed them. I want them to have room to saute and sear and get a little bit of the brown caramelization. If they're too crowded, they're going to continue to steam. Okay, so I did blot some of the water off of it from the ice bath. So let's check the skillet, make sure it's hot. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and add these in a single layer. So again, lots of room for them to each do their own thing. Sometimes we want food to fellowship. Sometimes it needs its space. This is one of those times where it needs its space. Now, I've already got so many flavors going on in this dish that I don't really feel I need to do a whole lot with my tempeh. I do want to give it some flavor because, again, it is pretty bland. That's one of the beauties of cooking with the dish with an ingredient like tofu or tempeh, is that you really can feel like a sponge. So no dish would be complete without my vegan W sauce. And guys, I'm so excited because the soy-free version will be available very soon. So we're gonna let this go ahead and give these a toss. Give them a pretty brown color. And if you want to make them crispy before this step, you could toss them in a little bit of cornstarch. Just like tofu, if you toss it in a little bit of cornstarch, it will give it a little extra crispiness. All right, so we'll be back after this has cooked through and browned and gotten nice and done. Also, too, with this step, you can saute it first, get them all nice and golden, and then add in your Worcestershire sauce or soy sauce or whatever you're going to be using to do it. I just did it all in one step, but you can break that down and saute it first with that liquid cook off and then add your seasoning. But either way is fine. If you're going to be using something with a high sugar content, you do want to cook these first because you don't want that sugar to burn. So like if you were doing like a maple glaze or something like that, I would definitely go ahead and saute them first and then add the maple in at the end. All right, these will come together. It's been about 5 minutes. It doesn't really take that long because again, we've seen them. So we're really just cooking them in our coating to give them that flavor, that seasoning. So these are ready to come off. And again, we're going to let these cool down because I'm building a room temperature or cold bowl. The components of our quinoa tempeh bowl is, of course, quinoa, mixed veggies, including some spinach, roasted kale, roasted carrots, asparagus, mushrooms, red onion, and red bell pepper, along with some tempeh cubes, radishes, and our cilantro, mint, garlic, and ginger tahini drizzle. All right, viewer, it's time for my favorite part of every episode, which is the tasting. So I'm really excited to bring this dish to you. Again, May is our month to really think about educating the public about blood pressure. And in this country, almost 50% of adults may have hypertension and don't even know it. It is known as a silent killer because it typically does not cause symptoms. So you can be walking around with high blood pressure and not be aware. So it's super important to check in with your doctor at least once a year. Get that blood pressure checked, if not more frequently, especially if you have risk factors. So this dish checks a lot of boxes for me. It helps me to educate you, my viewer at home. And then also, I got to use my cast iron skillet. I got to use a lot of different colors in the vegetables that I used. I got to use my Worcestershire sauce. I mean, this recipe, it just has it. It just does it all. And it's a great meal prep recipe. You can do this in steps. You don't even have to do it all the same day. Prep ahead and then take it out, put it together. Voila, dinner, lunch made. All right, really, enough talking. I've got to taste this. The smell in here right now is just unbelievable. So let's go ahead and get into this. The other thing I forgot to say about radishes, they actually are very hydrating too. They have a high water content, so perfect spring, summer veggie to add to your repertoire. Guys, this tastes like something I've paid close to $20 for in a restaurant. My goodness. The explosion of flavors that's going on right now. And I love the way how this dressing ties it all together. Cilantro, the mint, they just play so well with all of these flavors that are going on. Let's get a little bit of this tempeh and a roasted bell pepper. Let's see what that does for me. Food this good should either be illegal or come with a prescription. My goodness. The textures, the flavors. Taking the extra minutes to steam that tempeh really makes a difference. Trust me on this one. You can thank me later. You don't have to do it, but if you've cooked with tempeh before and you were kind of put off by it or off-putting, as my son says, do yourself a favor and try steaming it first, and then let me know how that worked for you. Guys, I've got to get back into this bowl. You know how I struggle doing TV bites, and I don't think you should watch me just unhinge my jaws and pour the salad into my mouth. So I'm going to tell you that if you use this recipe, please be sure to tag me. I love to see what veggies you use. It's always great to see what's in season where you live, and then just go pick the rainbow and add it to your bowl. This can easily be substituted out for the grains. You can use rice. You can use farro, which is an ancient grain, super high in good carbs, good fats, and also protein and fiber. So lots of different options for you here. But just let me know what you do. Make it your own. So until next time, I'm Dr. Monique telling you to keep it 100. Plant-based, that is. Eat well.